Hello everyone, Lely Mullingar here from Lely Mullingar, and you're welcome to the farm of John and Owen Shortall. We're just outside of Moat in County Westmeath, and this is our 20th webinar covering all things robotic milking. So today the main focus is going to be around project coordination. So John and Owen installed 3 robots this year, and they came from a parlour system before. So the agenda for today is going to be John and Owen are going to give us a bit of introduction of what they're doing and why they made the change. And then the yard designer who was involved in this project, William Conlon, is going to talk us through the yard design and why they settled on the plan that's in place. He's going to then hand over to Seamus McDonough. Seamus, the project coordinator, and Seamus is going to talk us through his role, and he's also going to have a conversation with the Bergens, who actually were the lads who did the building, who we'll work closely with. You'll have an opportunity to ask questions, fill them in the chat facility, and at the very end of the webinar there'll be a live Q&A, and we'll do our best to answer all your questions. So I hope you enjoy the next 20 minutes.
Gráinne Murray here from the Farm Management Support Team. I'm currently on farm here in Moat with John Shortall. So John, you started up in robotic milking this year. If you want to just give us a bit of background into how you got farming here originally. Your father was farming here before you?
Yeah, Dad started probably back in the 70s, started dairying, and I would have went to college and came back and started up in, I suppose, late 80s, early 90s. We've 3 lads here now, Owen, Colm and Dara, and my wife Deirdre. And yeah, we were probably around 40 cows when I came back here first, and we're now gone to 180. And the parlour was only a 12-unit parlour, and we had to do something. We were 3.5 hours milking, morning and evening, 7 hours a day. It's most people's days work. We've done a lot of looking around at different things. We were looking at herringbone parlours, small rotary, and the robotics. We went on a trip to Holland with Niall there back, it must be 5 or 6 years ago anyway, maybe more. Wasn't really considering it at that stage. Thought it was a bit out of our league, but the more I looked at it then, we were going to come out here in a new build anyway. The parlour we'd no room, it was up beside the road. There wasn't going to be a huge amount of difference in the cost. When you put in that we weren't going to have to do any more milking, so maybe it'll hopefully attract some of the lads to come back and stay here as well. It's not that they wanted to do it. Fant and Owen was more for a parlour, but when we added everything up, there wasn't. I thought there wasn't a whole lot in it. Once we were sort of looking at it, then everyone could see the merits in it. And look, it's sure it was drudgery before this, like, you know, and wanted to have a life after spending 35 years at it. Needed to make an investment in it, and hopefully it's so far we're absolutely delighted with it.
So John, I know you're only going here since April, but how has the changeover been for both you and the cows in regards to work for yourselves and then performance on the herd?
Sure, it's been brilliant. Sure, look at the support from yourselves has been great from day one, like, you know. Sure, the whole way through. I suppose, sure, startup, like you'd always hear heifers were going to take to it a lot better than cows, and we found the other way around. The cows just took the first 3 cows come in, they never lifted a foot. It was unbelievable, like, you know. We were absolutely delighted with it, like, you know. After a week, we had the herd back together, and it was less, I think it was 5 days, and it went really well, really well. We had one heifer kicking a little bit, but she was kicking before we in the parlour anyway, and we had, after a couple of weeks, there was a couple of days, sure, there was nothing else, like, you know. They were great. But
and it's obviously a big change. You're going from shutting cows out in a paddock now to leaving gaps open, and you've obviously moved to an ABC system. How are you finding that?
Yeah, look, it's been a bit of a steep learning curve. I suppose you have to be better even at the grass. Would have liked doing the grass anyway, but now, yeah, there's a lot of little different bits and pieces, and we've a wet farm. And the wet spring that was in it as well. It wasn't simple now, but and you guys were saying to us not to. I thought it'd be easier to start up indoors, but you guys said no, go out and you were right, and you have to trust you guys to go and do that. You're working on the experiences of every other farmer that you've started up, and you know what's right, and you just have to trust you and go with it. And you were dead right. They took to it very quickly.
So John, just tell me a bit about your routine now on the farm. So obviously you're saving up to 6 hours a day from the parlour.
Yeah, sure. Look at we probably had a lot of catching up to do on stuff that we were kind of more fire brigade up to this, kind of running around after chasing our tails. But no, we're still busy. We've a lot of work to catch up on. It's just a different life, like, you know. As you get up in the morning, you can decide on what to go at. You don't have to stop for milking. Once you have the bit of washing around the robots done, the sock changed and the wires done, pretty handy after that, especially this time of the year once breeding is out of the way. If it's sun's not baking, you go off and do the bit of spraying early, and which you couldn't do beforehand. Like, it's just little things like that. It's more flexibility, like, you know.
Yeah, so I know you are trying to catch up on a lot of work to be done, but obviously going forward, I'm assuming you've certain goals and performances you want to hit now using the information from the robot.
Oh yeah, and we could see ourselves improving a lot. The cows are going to be treated a little bit more individually. We just had our rope feeders in the parlour, like everything was getting the same, 3 pulls and 2 pulls or 1 pull, whatever it was. But like, they're treated a lot more individually now, and we would have been up near 600 kilos of solids back a few years ago, but just we've kind of a system for 100 cows instead of 180, and you just couldn't manage them the way you'd like to manage them. And hopefully now we can get back to that and get back to near the 600 kilos of solids.
So Owen, you're the eldest of 3 boys?
Yep.
Yeah. Are you all farming full time at home here, or?
No, so I've been at home here for the last year, getting these robots in. I finished college last summer. So there's another lad, he's 21, 2 years younger than me, and he's still in college at the minute. And then there's another lad just starting his leaving cert.
Have you any other full-time labour or part-time labour employed apart from yourselves here?
Yeah, so we've Shane Rowan, he works Monday to Friday here, and on the weekends if we need him. He's been here for the last 4 or 5 years now.
How long, Owen, would you spend here in the mornings before you would go off and look at doing any other jobs around the farm?
Well, most of the time my routine would be get up, change the sock, and then might have a discussion in the morning or the evening before about we're going to go for the grazing for the B block in the morning, and then I go down, change that wire, clear out any cows that are still down there, then head over to C, clear that paddock out and move the wire. So all in all that'll take about an hour in the morning tops, and come back here and do any health treatments or anything you need to do with any cows, and then just do any normal jobs you have to do in the day, go at it whatever you need to do.
So what's the main difference you see, on aside from saving 6 hours a day? What's the other main difference you see between milking in the parlour and now having robots in milking your cows?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of differences. Like you don't have to go running away from a job in the morning or in the evening. All of a sudden, like me and Shane could stay doing fencing or spraying, or one lad could go spreading fertilizer and another lad could do slurry, or you're not being torn away from doing jobs, and you can get them done. And definitely see a big difference with the fertility and side of things, breeding side of things, because like normally, say when we had the parlour, Shane might be milking or me milking, and one lad would be going around or in the parlour like checking the tail paint to see if it's rubbed off, and then you'd have to, like, we didn't have any drafting system or anything at all coming out of the parlour, so I'd be AIing cows in the cubicles, and it just was a disaster running around trying to find cows and heat. And now we have the drafting system with the robots and the collars, and just makes things so much handier. Like, you come out in the morning and there's a few cows just sitting in the separation paddock, and you're going out to get them, and it's handy. Same in the evening. So there's definitely a big difference that way as well.
Hello, my name is William Conlon. I'm part of the farmyard design team with Lely Mullingar. I'm out here with John. So John, you put in 3 robots here earlier in the year. I suppose I was involved with you from maybe 12 months before that on the yard design side of things. So when we first came out, I suppose we were looking around the yards and seeing what you wanted to do. You probably had a good idea yourself, nearly, what way you wanted to go with things and areas in the yard you were looking to develop.
Yeah, I suppose, look at the parlour inside was out next to the road on one side, and there's nowhere really to expand. And out here was closer to the paddocks, and it just made more sense. Our ex-advisor Patrick Owen would have had it laid out for me about 20 years ago, but I was be laughing at him. Yeah, it worked out really well out here.
Yeah, I suppose in the build you have here as well, we were trying to get 3 robots in, leave space open for expansion if it ever did happen, if it was ever an option. We're working, I suppose, between an existing cubicle shed and a calf shed. So the area to work within was, I suppose, compact enough. We were trying to get in a bit of a separation area to divert cows to. You want to try and tie in a kind of a treatment area with a turnover crate. So, we tried to pull all those things in together. I suppose, had you gone out and seen other robot farms before you made the decision, to go robots, and had you brought bits from those designs into kind of what you wanted to incorporate into your shed?
Yeah, I suppose bits and pieces, different YouTube videos, and you guys put me in touch with a few lads with similar designs. One man in particular is nearly the very same as this, and it was great to be able to get in and get access to them farms and talk to the men. And hear how the thing was going, and those little bits of things. I think that man was telling us to leave the tank a little bit longer, and we did do that. And you're gaining on the experience of everyone else that's gone before you.
And I suppose there's a big difference. You see the single robot or the 2 robot jobs maybe in a head-to-head, and they can be very compact. You can get them into a small area. When you're looking at 170, 180 cows like you have here, I suppose space becomes more important, around the grazeways, around the robots. And if something does go wrong, a bottleneck can lead to bigger issues, in terms of stopping the system from working. You also wanted to try and tie in, foot bathing, while also everything working in an automatic system as well. And how have you found that so far?
Yeah, the foot bath is great addition. We wouldn't have had much foot trouble up to 3 or 4 years ago, and then we got Mortallara, and that was a real curse altogether. But the foot count seems to have really helped out in that job. Yeah,
like with myself and yourself, we were probably working maybe 12 months before the job was, 4 robots were fitted. We maybe first started looking at plans, trying to agree a plan. But then when we got a plan fully agreed, I suppose I handed over the job to Seamus, so the project coordinator. What kind of interaction was there between you and Seamus and the builder there as well, or how did you find him as a resource, to help with the build?
Oh, sure, it was brilliant. Seamus put me in touch with the lads first off, no more than yourself starting off with. It was great. The access to you guys is brilliant to have, and from yourself to the planning, and you go see your farm and you see something new, and then you come back and you think about it and there's something different, and it can bounce it off you again. And likewise, Seamus put me in touch with the Bergens, and the lads were brilliant. They were more like having a contractor around the place doing the whole job than just the guys looking after the concrete. They really got me the plumber, done most of the timber work and joinery work there as well, and helped me out putting up gates and stuff, and we were tight to calving and everything else. So yeah, it was massive, and Seamus was there to coordinate the whole lot and pull it all together, and Seamus is very good. He come in, there's no messing, he wouldn't waste your time or anything. Get in, get what he has to get done, and everything, everyone pulled together, and it all came together really well.
And the fact, there was issues here in terms of building work, and was meant to start, and there was delays outside of everyone's control.
Yeah, sure.
So it meant that your building work was going on right in the middle of the spring when you were probably, very distracted and very pulled away with everything else going on in the farm.
Yeah.
Did you find, I suppose, being able to have the project coordinator there? Now I know things still have to go through you. It's your farm, it's your build, and a farmer engaged is very helpful too. But how did you find that in the spring when you were under pressure and were they come and ask, were the builders coming and asking you questions, or were they kind of dealing with the project coordinator more, or how did it practically work in the spring?
Look, it was a bit of you check in with them, but you could have trust there when we were flat out, and like we hadn't a great system, like we were up to our ears in it, like and the boys were great, like they'd work together, and they'd come to me when they thought they had to or whatever, but Seamus and themselves work really well together, and you have to have a bit of trust in everyone too, like, you know, and that all worked very well.
It's an area I suppose we'd put an awful lot of focus on, you know, getting the job to a plan fully agreed and then handing it over to a project coordinator so they can fully focus on all the building work, because I suppose the concrete work is only one bit. You have your meal augers, you have power, you have water, you know, all the little bits I suppose that.
Exactly, and like Seamus would have a recommendation for nearly anybody you needed that didn't even think of some of them down along the line, like, you know, and he dealt with them all before and had experience with them, so he knew who's good and who's not so good.
Over the last couple of years, with you know, the building costs having increased so much, particularly you look at concrete, has nearly doubled in the last 3 or 4 years. It's made robot jobs a lot more comparable, I suppose, to your traditional herringbone parlours and a rotary project, because the size of your shed, maybe the amount of concrete work involved in the robot job is generally a lot less than in your parlours or your herringbone systems. Obviously your equipment in a robot system is a big investment, but the overall total projects could be coming very comparable, and it probably has just, I suppose, had people price up parlours and then maybe think, okay, maybe I should look at robots with the way things have gone. On your farm, did you look at parlours, or was it always in your head to go the robot route?
No, not at all. We looked at both parlours and rotaries. Looked at even a small rotary, and look at, in the end of the day, there wasn't, if you had a similar spec parlour to what the robots are putting out, there's not a massive amount of difference in it. And probably between collecting yard and shed and everything else, you're talking about a much bigger area. So yeah, look at it, and rotary probably even bigger again. So we just suited the job here, and it has fitted in very well.
And how do you find the bill now? How do you find the yard? How do you find?
Sure, the whole yard is working together much better. Like, we would have been cows coming in down the other side there, a lot of dirty water and everything. Cows are straight out here now through the grazeways out to the paddocks. Much better access. The whole yard is working together a lot better. Cows are calved back down the other side. And we have a race across to the robots there. We have to cut a hole in the wall yet, a few more bits to do, but it's all linked up a lot better now, a lot better. And we have an extra race there as well then for if we do calve a few cows in the winter as well, so we can draft them off separately and feed them a little bit there at night if the nights are bad.
It's fair to say you have an awful lot of options now with cows. You have an awful lot of control of where cows are going, an awful lot of options with them.
Huge.
Like, you can go, so cows can come out of the robot, they can go through a footbath or not through a footbath, depending on the days of the week where you want them to go. Then where are your options, or how are you drafting cows then after that point? So for AI or sick or calving, how are you?
We have the first grazeway then is draft off the separation area, so we can close the gate, we can have a separation paddock or a separation area. And if they're into the separation area, then we can AI them in there. We have the turnover crate there for anything really, but the main reason I went with it was for teat sealing later in the year, just from ease. One guy can do it, and hygiene and safety. Then we have another option off the second grazeway to come back in for, I wanted it there if we had cows calving in the autumn and going out to a bad night or whatever, fresh calf cows, we can draft them off into the shed and give them a bit of feed, and the rest of the spring herd can go out.
You could run a full ABC grazing system and also have a group buffer feeding in the shed as well. Like, yeah. So it's just to try and tie all them things in together.
Tie as many options in as you could, and fair dues to you guys, you managed to do that. I didn't know whether it was going to be possible or not, but it does, and it works really well. It was actually very handy in training as well for the different groups, because we could run them back around that way if we wanted to, rather than going back out to grazeways. But it has worked really well.
Hello everybody, Seamus McDonough is my name, and I'm the project coordinator with the Lely Mullingar. I'm in the role about 9 years. I started with the centre in October 2014, so coming up to my 9th anniversary. My main role within the centre is I'm responsible for delivering the project right through to the first cow milking. So we have a yard planner, William, and once the initial concept is there and he's agreed that layout with the farmer, it's my role then to bring that to life. So I'm producing drawings, I'm visiting the farmer, I'm liaising with all of the other trades. For example, concrete men, your steel man, which is the main structure of the shed, steel, and then the smaller contractors are plumbing and electrical. But really, I'm the other side of the phone and I'm the go-to man for the farmer all through the project. So you could have some projects that might last 3 months, some could be going for 9 months. But at all times, I'm just there for the farmer to bounce ideas off and someone for him to reference. And the drawings are really, they're the blueprint for the project and they're the biggest part of the project. So a huge emphasis goes into that. Big part of it as well is ordering materials and liaising with our own office and just making sure material is on site and equipment is on site. I tie in as well with our farm management support team, so that's the grazing team, because as part of the project, as well as drawing up for the robots, a big part of it is the grazeway and that grazeway layout too. So we're here on farm with John Shortall, and I'd like to introduce you to Liam and Ollie Bergen. Now, the lads here, they had a big part to play in the project. They were on farm here from the beginning of October up until almost the start-up date, which was the beginning of April. As much as they were doing concrete, they're really the lead contractor on the job. The guys here, they didn't have responsibility for the shed, but obviously they're the first people that come in. So after the job was dug out, then the lads come in, they put the tank in the ground and they bring it to where you see it here today. With that, if I could just introduce Ollie and Liam. So I've worked with them, I think this is the 4th project that we've been involved with. And the lads, it's a great peace of mind for me, knowing that a contractor has done it before, that they're familiar with it, but also a great peace of mind for the farmer, because it can be quite overwhelming and it's a big project to take on. Nobody fills in and steps into the boots of the farmer whilst the building is going on. So they're very, very busy with their day-to-day running of the farm. So if you just want to go through and introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Ollie and this is Liam, or he's really referred to as Ducky. We're part of Ollie Bergen Limited. As Seamus was saying, I think was it you that got us in contact with John originally?
I did, yeah.
Yeah, and we came down, we met John, had a chat with him, gave him a price on the job. We did do a bit of haggling in the price on the job, and everything worked out well with him. Have to say it was an absolute pleasure taking this job, wasn't it? And
absolutely.
Like one thing John did do with us when he agreed with us for doing the job, we asked him who was supplying the concrete, where he was getting the steel. He told us Spallins was doing the concrete. He asked us to go off and organise the steel. We done that and took that away from John that he didn't have to bother with it. We had the driver, or what was his name? Tommy. We got on well with him. Any of the ones here we got on well with. It's easy to work like with you boys anyway, like, you know, the best of times. I say to you, or we can make a phone call to you if we're unsure about something, and if you don't answer us, you're back to us within a few minutes.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And with an answer.
Oh, absolutely, and the simplicity of working with Lely, like everything is just so well laid out. Everything, even to here, actually, if you were saying it to John there a second ago, like to match in a bill here to suit so well to what John had originally had in the yard, it's phenomenal for what Lely can do. Like, and as Ollie said, to work with you, the drawings is A1. A phone call, if there's anything a problem, it's sorted.
Yeah. Like, you know, the drawings are, that's the key to a project, is the drawings, but also being available.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because, you know, you have different sets of drawings for different parts of it. Like, there's an awful lot underneath the ground here that people don't see. The farmer will see it in the benefit. We're standing on a flow channel here, and there's a lot of design and detail and consideration that goes into that even before you're going above ground. Having the detailed drawings for that the boys can work from, and then if they have a question on it, that they're picking up the phone and they're making that call. There is mistakes that happen sometimes, maybe, you know, little mistakes, but then it's just trying to deal with it, roll with it, maybe adjust the drawing. So the drawings that I'm producing from day one, they can change as we're going through it, and you're adjusting them as built.
Like it's even back down to, like, say, even how do we, if that so simple for us, you even take even with the plinths for the robots to put into the ground at first. Like, we have them in jig form now, because everything is the same every time. Like, same with the manholes there. Like, we have all that in jig form. We can reuse and reuse and reuse it, because we know every time that we come to do the robot, it's the same. It's the same measurement. It's a replica of it, like, you know. So
it is, and those, you know, those drones that we're producing in there, like, regardless of it being a 6 robot or a 4 robot or a 2 robot or that, the drainage and the footprint of the robot always remains the same. You know, it's not only agricultural work that you're doing, so maybe just give us a flavour of, you know, other projects that you're involved in and what they're like versus...
Like, we're there, we're after completing an industrial unit there in Farmyard there, and that was going on actually at the same time as John Shortall's job here.
There'd be mainly walls, would there be much technical involved in it?
No, we took on that, actually, the whole concrete job on that. We took on just, we didn't take on the steel one. We took on the rest of the factory, the offices inside, drainage, the groundworks outside. We took on the whole lot of that.
But like, as far as what Willie was saying about it, like, you haven't the same line of contact, you have obviously, but you haven't the same service, backup service from somebody to you. Like a phone call to Lely, and it's not blowing your trumpet on it, like, it's just the relaxation of us going in, knowing that you're there, right, fine, this is going to work okay, this is going to work well, this is going to be okay.
Like, I would think that versus your traditional projects, I'm talking about industrial units or something like that, here dealing with an agricultural project, you're dealing with the farmer directly, and he's the customer, so he's here, so decisions can get made there and then, and there's no relying or waiting for, you know, a big engineering team. So you're making progress every day.
The phone call, you're getting your information. If like, as I say, if we ring you, we don't get you on the phone, will come back to us on it. We're getting that information at the latest the following day. Like, there was times that we were on another project, that industrial unit, you'd be looking for the engineer, you'd get him on the phone, to come back in an email maybe 2 days later that he was going to call to site. That's a week later he'd call to site. Then he'd go back and he'd send you an email and say it's going to be another week before you'd have drawings. So it could be 3 weeks waiting. But whereas with you, like,
if you had the choice in the morning versus doing, we'll say, an industrial job or going in doing an agricultural, if you had to do this exact same job again, is this a project that you enjoy?
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's just
the complexity of it, maybe just the bit of head scratching of it, or is it just the fact that
there's really a whole pile of head scratching, which, like, sure there's not.
No, it's the fact of knowing going in that you're going in with someone that you trust to do something. And so, like, once you have that relationship built with somebody, it's very easy work at that stage then. From both halves, I'd be open.
From my point of view, it's a great peace of mind having worked with somebody in the past.
Yeah, so it's
but I suppose how you came on John's radar is John went down to look at a project that she had completed that was similar size to this. And I suppose from there he spoke with the farmer, and then I think it was probably a big part of it, the quality, the finish, and the fact that, you know, programme was going to be critical for John.
Yeah.
You know, we were getting into a time of year that you were going to be dealing with weather and all of that. And there was yourselves and a second contractor that John had shortlisted. But I think he went with G because it was just maybe having that peace of mind. Plus as well the fact that you were willing to do it and you were available.
Yeah, and we commit to it. When we say we're going to do it, if we agree, we commit to it and stay with it.
Yeah.
Like, and we will go over and beyond if we have to help John out, you know, on things there. You know?
And there was times, I know, at the end of the project, we were trying to, and I was trying to get a fitting team in here.
Absolutely.
We were pushing.
We were just going to get
and
there.
And you know, really I brought them in probably 3 or 4 days too early. And I'm sure there was a bit of cursing going on.
Not because, really, no.
But you pulled it out of the fire at the end. And
which it works both ways, like.
Yeah, but it worked well for us. The boys came in here, remember that actually happening here. The boys came in, there's one of your group of fitters.
Yeah.
And they came in here that day and they explained to us they were going home for the weekend. But it was a Thursday actually they came in, if I remember correctly.
Thursday,
and they were going home for the weekend. And we asked them what did they need to get started on the robots for Monday, and we gave them what they need. And they were very appreciative of
and
falling
there
in to
was
help
a
them.
bit of, you were working different directions to work alongside each other.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think fitting wise here, we were here maybe 9 days, but you were alongside us. I know that you were doing ceilings here when we were doing other areas.
Yeah, so it worked well. We worked well together at the minute, thank God.
One question that I'll ask as well, you're saying, lads, that you've been involved in a couple of other agricultural projects. Have they been dairying? And if they have, then how does the likes of a robot job compare to maybe a parlour project or a rotary?
Well, we have actually done rotaries, we have done herringbones, we have, and for me, and seeing this our fourth actually job with Lely, I can't understand why any farmer would be going to do something that he wouldn't go with Lely robots. And that's not because this is a Lely interview, because it's beyond me. It's beyond me to say that anyone who put themselves through the hearts to put themselves with rotaries and herringbone, when this option, as simple as it is there. You look at the farmer, of course, all the time for answers, like, and he doesn't, a lot of the time, we'll go back to the farmer just go and do his everyday jobs by being involved in a contract like this. You go into the herringbone, go into the rotaries, you're trying to deal with the farmer all the time. So the next thing he's in bad form. You're going around pulling out him and dragging him. Did you get me this answer? Did you get me that answer? That's not happening. So like again, everything's delayed.
But trust hadn't happening then as well. Like he'd often come back to us and said, like, I can't get these boys on the phone. They're not answering the phone. They said they're coming here tomorrow.
And as you know, concrete is fairly permanent.
Yeah.
And first time is, a motto that I try and, work to. Because it's not fun a jackhammer or a Kango hammer.
They're not getting any cheaper either.
No.
Oh, I'll have to be taking it that one, yeah.
Hello, William. I see you there. John, you hear me okay?
Yep.
Well done, lads. Excellent video. Yeah, I think you answered a lot of questions actually going through it, but still have a good few to go through, so I'm going to crack straight on. William, I was writing them down as we were going through. Question for yourself. Did you ever visit a farm that it wasn't possible to work out a plan?
Probably not. More so probably visited farms where the farmer maybe isn't willing to do the level of the job you want them to do. I suppose there's a couple of ways around it. You try and show them similar plans, you try and explain it to them, and sometimes if that's not working or if they're not kind of agreeing or seeing what you're trying to do on the farm, maybe bring them to a farm. I know we brought John down to a place just to show him, I suppose, help him visualize what needed to be done, kind of building work that had to be done. And if at that point then a farmer still isn't willing, I suppose, to do what we want them to do for it to be the right job, then you're not really going to want to put robots in there, because if the plan isn't done right to begin with, and if the thing isn't laid out right, and you're trying to squeeze a robot or squeeze grazeway gates into an area where it's too small for it, it's only going to lead to issues down the line for the farmer. And I'm only dealing with John or the farmer for a short period of the lifetime they're going to be milking on robots. So we're only trying to, I suppose, do the right job, get it right, and hand it over so that the farmer is right. But there has been times where we haven't come to agreement with the farmer, or farmer isn't willing to do, I suppose, the level of build or the level of space that we want them to do. They're trying to squeeze it in, and we just have to, I suppose, accept that. And you're not going to put a robot in somewhere that the plan isn't right.
I suppose if we're honest, William, we're going into our 12th year now. We learned very quickly in the early days, there's certain things you have to do for the system to work with space and cow flow and automatic drafting and the rest. So, there was some of the early robots installed actually came out because there wasn't enough consideration given to the things that you mentioned. So, and I suppose I would say as well, before the likes of yourself would be on the farm, one of the sales team would have visited, and if they felt this isn't a runner or isn't a decent option for the client, well, they wouldn't waste his time. They'd be very upfront and they would say that.
No, and it's also fair to say that there's very, very rarely a deal is done on a robot now where there's two of us on the farmyard design side of things. Very rare that a deal will be done before one of us has visited the farm as well, because you want to limit the farmer's expectations. You want to give them an idea what the building work that needs to be done, and gives them an idea of the level of the build, I suppose. So they're going in with their eyes open to the project, because the robot is only one part of it.
Another question that's come in from Robert is what's the typical time from a project from start to finish? What's the typical time for a project from start to finish, I'm assuming it means?
I suppose it varies. like a typical project, the likes of a project size of John's, and he can comment on it after maybe, you're probably looking 4 to 6 months for a job like that to get it done. I know with a lot of the existing farmers, we'd be targeting to try and get robots started up in August, September. So that really means trying to get going at building work in April, so that you give yourself, into March, April, so you give yourself April, May, June, July, 4 months really to try and get the building work done. But if you're working back from that, then that's trying to get a plan agreed, probably before cows start calving, because when cows start calving, farmers don't want to see you. Now, we saw this year, I think we have 30 robots fitted and started up since August, all for existing farmers. You see this year, an awful lot of them robots that were meant to be fitted in August, August, September, slipped into October, November. And a lot of that is probably due to, I suppose grants had a part to play in it, but definitely, delaying building work and delaying actually getting started in building work in the spring is a massive, massive hold up. You push into July or August before you start building, you're going to do well to have the project completed before Christmas to get a robot fitted, because, evenings are getting short, working hours are just getting minimized on farms for builders.
Another question, William, that's come in from you, from Sean, is do you have a list of recommended tradesmen?
I suppose we wouldn't have a list of recommended tradesmen, but the 2 project coordinators would have an awful lot of contacts built up throughout the country. So, if there was a robot going in Kilkenny, the project coordinator will know other robots that went into Kilkenny, and he'll know builders or plumbers or electricians that maybe did good work that we can recommend. We're not linked up with anyone, but if we work with someone who does good work, we're happy to recommend them. Like, if the farmer is happy with them, then I don't see why not.
Well, I suppose when you've over 600 robots installed, you deal with a lot of people. So yeah, look, we have a good old network. If I know in this case, John, you didn't know Ollie Bergen prior to thinking about this job. Was Seamus who put you in contact with him originally, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Actually, move on to yourself.
Like he did, and Seamus would have put me in contact with a lot of other lads as well, like the guy for the augers, different the plumber, different lads, like.
Yeah, well, look,
and I was happy with them all.
Well, in fairness, Seamus works to a high standard, but he knows the guys that are easy to deal with and that he can depend on. So he's not going to recommend people to make his life harder or the client's life harder. When I have you there, John, a question that came in from Liam is, how have the cows moved on grass in year 1?
Very well. I'd be very happy with it so far, especially with the spring. We started off in April and it was very wet, and it was hard going at the start. We're on wet enough ground. We're very happy with them now. Hoping get a good year run at next year now, and they'll really get into it. So yeah, we're very happy with the way they moved. Yeah.
Would you have counted yourself as a good grassland manager prior to this? Would you put much time and effort into managing grass?
Oh yeah, we'll be measuring all the time. Yeah, we would do a sort of half decent job at it. All right, yeah, we kind of have to with the wet ground that we have. Try and make the most of it. But you have to up it a little bit more. Just allocations every day. We would have been going in. Some of the paddocks, most of the paddocks, you'd be trying to do 3 grazings like usually, but it's a little bit different now. You're doing every 12 hours or every 8 hours. So you have to get a little bit better. But no, look, I like that end of it, and Owen likes that end of it too. So it's no bother.
Did it take long? A question that's come in from Ian. Did it take long to feel like the system was working well?
Well, I suppose after a few weeks, couldn't believe how well it was going. Didn't expect it to bed in as quick as the cows did. Now it went really well. Both with the robots and with the grazing and the things like.
I suppose I have to ask you, John, what were you expecting it to be like? So it was easier than you expected.
I thought it was good. I thought to be a bit more hardship with it now. In fairness, I didn't think the cows would take to it as quick as they did. I thought we'd have more hardship. No, yeah. I wouldn't like any more hardship, but it was great. The way it did go now,
Yeah, you probably worked with Grania, I'm sure, over the course of the year to do a bit of fine tuning as the seasons progressed.
Yeah, and like the meetings, your discussion groups, like you'll pick up bits. Like I'm in a discussion group with. I was always in a discussion group anyway, but the stuff to do with the robots that you guys have the discussion groups going. You pick up little things and from other lads just chatting at them, and they're a great help as well. Things that you don't think about at all. Just little different little knickknacks and little bits and pieces that just help.
You're in the Longford Westmeath discussion group. I suppose you're lucky that there's exceptionally good farmers in that group, which is a great starting point. But there's gentlemen there with almost 10 years experience of robotic milking, so that's a huge benefit to the whole group.
Huge, yeah, it's great, brilliant. Like them lads would have started off when nobody knew probably very much about the robots and grazing end of things, and it's
we thought
help now.
We thought we did, John. We just didn't realise what we didn't know back in the early days.
Yeah.
Another question that's come in here. Was it difficult starting up in April? I'm sure that wasn't an original plan to be starting in April, was it?
No, we were hoping to start in the back end, but we got held up with planning. And in fairness, we still got through fairly quick. Like we only started digging in October, just before the rain started last October, and we were lucky to get the tank dug out. And I think we got held up for maybe 3 or 4 weeks with the frost before Christmas. But after that, like everyone got in and kept it going. Like, you know, we had no delays apart from that. But no, it wasn't. April was not the plan. But sure, the best laid plans. That's just the way it worked out. It was nobody's fault really. Probably should have maybe went at the planning earlier. But look, that's the way it worked out. But no, it was hard going. Like it was hard April as well. But it didn't work out too bad now, in fairness.
You must have been just getting into breeding season then, were you?
Yeah, and that probably didn't help our movement as well. I thought it was going to be a disaster, but it actually didn't go too bad now, you know.
Yeah.
We were happy enough with it.
It probably is fair to say as well that on, like, you know, the target is to try and start up, you know, kind of by March, probably at the latest on most farms, because you get into that time of year and growth rate can take off and you're coming into peak breeding, and it is, I suppose, you are more exposed to something going wrong. Now, lucky for yourselves and the work you put in, it worked out well for you, but, you know, starting at that time of year is, I suppose, not to be understated, the difficulty in trying to start up in April either, when things, you know, the farm is just starting to get hectic in terms of breeding and in terms of the grassland management side of things.
When you're there, William, a question that's come in is, can you give an estimate as to what a project would cost? So I'm assuming you're on farm talking to a client about potential options. Would you give them a ballpark saying, I expect it to cost this, that, or the other?
You try and talk to, like, you know, generally a lot of people have to do a bit of a slatted tank, whether it's for a grazeway gate or for the, you know, to go in front of the robot as well. You try and talk to, you know, the price of that. I suppose often people can maybe, you know, they're aware of the bigger things, so they could price a shed easy enough themselves, but then it's the little bits like, you know, maybe they have to put a new panel on the front of the milk tank, maybe they have to get a power upgrade, a new USB connection, say, the electrical work, the plumbing work, the concrete work around the robot rooms, you know, the meal augers. It's all the little bits that you'd see, you know, adding money onto a job. So we do try and help farmers where we can, you know, guide them on the price of it, because at the end of the day, you have to go to a bank, you have to go with figures, and you want the figures to be some way reasonable, because you don't want to be trying to go back again looking for additional funding, because that's when the conversations start getting difficult with the banks.
Another question, William, for you is, does anyone ever use precast walls?
Not, we haven't had any not in my recollection. On the 4 years I've been here, we haven't. We've had farmers price them up, and we've priced them up ourselves. And I suppose there's not a whole lot of experience of builders using precast walls here. They'd be very common over in the UK. But when we priced them up, there was very little difference between using precast and pouring walls. So then the builders are going to stick with what they know. So it hasn't been done yet. It could be done. I don't see why it couldn't. But if it's not financially going to make any more sense, most people will just pour the wall.
I know Owen Lyons in Rat, who's be 10 years robotic milking next year. I know he put in precast walls. in Offaly, and I think the thinking of that was in case he moved the shed or he adjusted a shed in years to come, which he hasn't. But I know he put in precast panels, but
Yeah,
it is more
the one
common.
thing with it though, like there's not a massive amount of concrete in the robot room either. You know, it's not like it's a big massive. It's not like you're putting in a parlour or a pit and a big shed that if you do have to leave that farm in time, or if it's a rented block, that you're leaving a big infrastructure behind you. The actual, you know, the housing for the robot room itself is not excessively big, I suppose. So you're not leaving a whole lot after you if you do have to move from a rented farm. Like we've had a lot of robots go into rented farms the last couple of years, maybe on 10 or longer term leases, knowing that if something goes wrong or if they leave the block, the robots can come with them, the shed can come with them, and they're maybe losing the cost they spent on the slatted tank and on the robot rooms.
John, back to you. Do you still milk record?
No,
No.
don't need to.
You don't, and you did before.
Yes.
Okay, so you're happy that the information you're getting from the robot is allowing you manage your cows.
Oh, yeah, sure. The cell counter is massive, like it's every day, you know, whereas you're used to mix record every month, but we don't any longer.
Do you do any selective dry cow, John?
We are starting at we haven't up to this, but we are starting at it now.
Okay, are you going to go? What sort of percentage of the herd do you think you'll chance?
Well, sure. Look, at it just depends on the information from the robots. That's what we'll be looking at. Like, you know, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know, I suppose once they're down around the 100, it's probably safe enough.
I know,
John, with the cell count, John, are you using the cell counter every single milking, or are you doing smart sampling and sampling every third milking, or what way are you working the cell count?
I think it's every milking it's doing it,
Okay.
as far as I know.
Yeah.
So what the likes of Grania would do is sit down with you when I'm assuming getting near drying off, and she'd be able to help you show a report, and you set the criteria, and she can say, well, here's a cow that's never had a case of mastitis and the cell count hasn't gone above whatever 70, 80, 90,000, and she'd be a good candidate for you to assess for selective dry cows. So the farm management support team is not just helping the client get used to managing the grass, but it's to kind of make them aware of the information that's available on the robot and how to make practical use out of it. I keep motoring through the questions. What information from the robot do you find the most useful, John?
Well, sure, look, I'm hoping to improve the breeding end of things from, you know, kilos of milk solids and the colours then with the fertility as well will all pull together, and hopefully we'll improve on every aspect of it, like, you know, we'll have a more efficient herd down the line.
Question from Michael. Did you lose any cows to the robots?
We have one lady that calved now in the autumn. That but like it'd be hard to milk her. I'm milking her with a little mobile one that I had for just in the calving pens, and I'm getting it hard to get down under. Her bag is just blown out. Yeah, that's the only cow we had that it's failed to do.
Question for you, William. Can a robot be moved?
It can. Hopefully, it doesn't have to be, but it can. Ideally, like, look, there's robots gone into out farms, that there's robots actually gone in temporary, kind of semi-temporary into sheds, into an existing shed, knowing that they'd be moved to maybe a greenfield build if the farmer went to a second and third robot. So there's been a couple of jobs done where, say, a single robot went in or two robots went in, and then the farm expanded and they put in a third robot, and the first two robots were moved as well. So that's happened a couple of places, yeah.
I'm just looking through questions here. I think I've covered most of them. What exactly is the labour that is available on the farm, John?
Well, Owen is gone off to Australia, so myself and Shane are here. So Shane does 5 days during the week, so that's what's here at the minute.
Had Owen always planned to go to Australia? or that just
Ah,
something?
yeah, he did. Yeah,
Oh,
he done dairy business in college and never
right.
got to go with COVID and everything. So he was supposed to go as part of the work experience for that. So, yeah, it was always the plan. He'd stay for the year, get these up and running, and then head off. So
And the
he's
intention is
gone for a while anyway. So was he?
so the intention is he's going to
Sorry.
come back. The intention is he's going to come back.
Well, hopefully, yeah. Well, he might be more encouraged to come back now with there's not as much hardship.
Very good. Look, John, really appreciate you opening up the farm. I know you're not up and running that long, but we've huge interest from your size of herds in the last 18 months, mainly driven by labour shortages on farm. And like yourself, a lot of guys trying to see is there scope to improve some of the areas of their farm and improve performance. So really appreciate you giving up your time and sharing your experience. Have you any final words or advice for anyone who's maybe considering their options going forward?
I don't know. I thought about it for a long time. I suppose I probably, in hindsight, probably should have jumped a little bit sooner. But look at it's. I feel it was the right move for us anyway. So I'm happy with it. Everyone has to make up their own mind on it and be happy with it. But yeah, we're happy out with it now.
Well, look, lads, appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Thanks a million, mate. Thanks, lads.
Cheers.